Hello everyone, this is my Lego city, Greenside Cliffs. It's been 7 months since my last city update, and though there's been some changes, the buildings are in their same spots, but the major difference is that I switched rooms. I'm now in a room with a longer wall, so I've added more length to my tables and shelves to allow room for expansion. And I'm going to do some updates to the city, but first, I'm going to do some more mods to the Lego City streetcar. This will be round 3 of modifications to the streetcar. Round 1 included lowered floors for wheelchair and stroller accessibility. Round 2 included improved interior spacing and adding magnetic couplers, and also giving the train some number identification. As for this third round of mods, I'm going to close this gap between the cars to virtually nothing. I'm going to make it an accordion styled look where it looks like it can bend and articulate, but it won't need to make turns in my city, as it'll just be on a straight track all the time. And my goal is to improve aesthetics and realism, but also I may connect the interiors between the different cars to provide more space for our figures on board. What I'm going to focus on first is closing the gap between the cars. This is how it was. I removed the black tiles over here, and I want to see what the end result will look like from the exterior without worrying about interior details just yet. So I'm reusing those 1x6 black tiles, but I've got plates underneath it now to close the gap. When they come together, well, there's not enough room for another plate. However, I can close the gap even further with half a plate thickness. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Actually, still being able to move this from side to side is pretty satisfying. But obviously it's not going to be able to make turns. So if you're planning on using this streetcar for turns, don't do this mod. This is only for linear tracks. Also, I like the look of the layered plate and tiles, giving it that accordion feel rather than just using a solid brick. So definitely like that look. Now, how I'm going to close this gap even further is with the use of 4 different bracket elements. I've got 1 upward-facing bracket, 2 downward-facing brackets, but I'm also going to need the downward-facing version of this bracket, which is much more rare. And that's why I'm going to have to steal these pieces from another Lego set. There we go. I've got all of the red brackets added to the middle car all the way around, and that gap is pretty much closed. That's as far as I'm going to get with having no gap. Also, I did remove the windows and that red brick so that I can try to do my best to bridge these together. Okay, I think I've got something that works. Here's the before, where I've got a bench seat with enough space for 2 passengers. Well, sort of. But now, instead of those bench seats, I've made room for an aisleway, because now that they're connected, you need room to walk around. And that's what I've come up with. All of the seats on one side, these 3 facing forward, and then 2 right here facing the other direction. So they come together really well, actually. So I've got a 4x4 plate here that's just attached to the front. It just slides into place between those plates and tiles here. It works really well. And I like the realism look to it as well. The only problem is I can't fit people into 3 of the seats. This one, that one, and this one here. They're just too close to one another. But what I can do, and I think it looks good, is just stand a figure up right here, and I can still close the top. I think the streetcar improvements are a success. Love how it looks. I'm going to do the same thing over here, then get this bad boy back into my city where I can do some updates to it. I tried modding the doors to a sliding feature, but was running into a couple different problems. I couldn't get that sliding feature where the wheel was because it was just in the way. So my door would just kind of fall off. If I put some stops, the door wouldn't open up quite as full as I wanted. So I'm going to abandon this mod for now, but maybe try it again in a future video. Take a look at all of the minifigures I'm able to pack into this modded streetcar. I've got 15 in there with room to spare, plus a dog, look through that window right there, and a baby. Yeah, since I couldn't fit figures into these seats, I figured that I could fit a dog on one of them. And on this seat, I put a newspaper there. Somebody just left it there after they were done reading. And if you're wondering where I got all of these extra seats from, well, it was from this double-decker sightseeing bus. And there's only one left for the driver. I just recently received a Lego.com pick-a-brick order for a bunch of light gray tiles that I'll use to tile over the tracks, make it look all smoothed and finished out. Also on that pick-a-brick order, I got some of these earth blue base plates that I'm going to slide underneath this road and the track as well to bring it up to the same height as the city, which is also on base plates, but the earth blue color will give me a nice waterfront. And this is the waterfront that I'm talking about. Yes, I love that dark blue color against the grays and even the white stripes on the roads. Such good contrast. And that water flows under this elevated road, which is a highway and appears on the other side right before the train track as well, which is all tiled up. If you see tiles missing or plates missing throughout, it's probably because I ran out of them or just didn't get to it yet. But take a look at what I got. Up here, I started experimenting with some water textures and waves. I think that's looking good. Over on the other side of the highway, I'm experimenting with some rock barriers, rock formations to separate the water from the city, the train track, Main Street, so that the water doesn't just come rushing and flooding the streets of town. Yeah, that'll be the barrier that I'll continue along this train track. Yeah, definitely won't have enough slopes to extend that rock barrier all the way across my shoreline yet. And same goes for the water texturing. I'll do as much as I can in this video and then do a parts order eventually, or hopefully find some of those pieces on the pick-a-brick wall, like those 1x1 by 2/3 cheese slopes in trans white. Anyway, this road right here, I refer to as the highway. This is where traffic would just kind of zip by Main Street. Main Street's over here. I've added, since my last update, I've added suggestion of lights along all of the roadways. Also, there was a major switch of having this additional road being in the front of the buildings rather than in the back. That's how I had it before, but a viewer of this channel, they suggested not having the roads in the back as it was just a waste of space, and you can't see back there anyway. So I totally agree with that, and decided to move more road plate up front and put the modulars against the wall in the back. The problem with the hospital, though, is I can't put the helicopter back on the helipad with it all the way against the back wall. So I'll probably have to move that helipad maybe over here or something. I'll rearrange it, and I've got to do mods on this hospital anyway, because another viewer recommended I do a red fire escape on the side of it, and I thought that was a really good idea as well. The red fire escape that I robbed from the Daily Bugle when I switched it over to a neutral color, black, just looks more realistic to me. But that red fire escape would look pretty awesome on the hospital. Also, before the end of this video, I'm going to get some crosswalks added. Got a couple down there, one up here. Not worried about a crosswalk across alleys or parking lots at the moment. These fences, I built them for a Speed Champions garage and I canceled that project. So I'm going to reuse them in my city, like how I did right here. I think that looks good to kind of obstruct what you're seeing back there, just the empty wall. And then put a couple of classic trees in front of it, because I think those classic trees look better than my creation here. And this is really fragile, so I'm gonna get those trees removed, replace them with some classical trees, add some fences, kind of tidy up here and there. Sure, I can squeeze these buildings together and not have this empty space to deal with, but I like having my buildings spaced out. The roof lines wouldn't look really good if it was butt up to one another. And I've got a lot of room on my shelf and table down below. So that's how I'm going to do it right now, just space them out. There's going to be some occasions where I do have buildings flush with one another. But in general, I plan on covering up that wall eventually with a backdrop of a mountainous terrain. But for now, this is what I've got. Also, I did put in crosswalks, but I don't have the piece to put right there at the moment. The road piece that is the same size as this crosswalk piece, but with unprinted lines. So I just made it a construction zone for now. Same with down here. Construction workers are busy at work, preparing for that new road plate. The crosswalk is put in, and over here we've got a lot of activity going on as well. Yeah, down below this digger, we've got the crosswalk added. I think it looks good. Visitors of the boutique hotel are not going to be too pleased about this construction going on out in front, but it is what it is. It needs to be done. Also added some flaggers to help with traffic management. Yeah, I probably spent a little bit more time than I needed to, being this is just temporary. But I think storytelling really brings a city to life. So I'm glad I added that construction scene. Speaking of bringing my city to life, look at this. I got more waterfront. I've got this pier with a fisherman waiting for a catch. But so are these seagulls. They might get to the catch first. Behind him, he did catch a fish, but the seagull's eyeing it up and might take it away without him noticing. I've also built a custom moped for the fisherman. He's got it parked on the pier. Over here, there's a fish jumping out of the water. He's in pursuit by a seagull swooping down, but also by this shark. We'll see which one gets there first. I got a lot of these seagulls from the Build a minifigure at the Lego store a long time ago. That was a nice part that I picked up from the store. Also down here, I didn't have enough earth blue base plates to extend the water all the way down here. But I kind of like how this road looks without it being propped up over here. I just have this little bit of a slant to go up onto the raised highway. I think I might keep it that way. Now let's talk about future updates to my Lego City, to Greenside Cliffs. Well, I'm not really digging the dark gray sidewalk since I've got all of this dark gray road plate. I do plan on switching up that color eventually. I just didn't have the courage yet to mod the OG modular buildings. But it'll be coming soon. I'm going to do more personalization and put in a lot more custom minifigures. And also, once I gain that courage, maybe these guys won't be stuck in their poses within their realms. Like this banker, for example, He doesn't have to hold the door open anymore. He can go home for the day or go to Al's for a haircut. Once I get past the mental barrier that all of the minifigures need to stay in their places in their own respective sets, there's going to be a lot more personalization. Also, on the subject of swapping the sidewalk colors, I plan on going with a dark tan because I find a bunch of them at the pab wall at my Lego store. They're there all the time. Plus, there's a message board set that's a good parts pack for dark tan tiles and jumper plates as well. So that's the color I'm going to go with. I do plan on covering up most of the wall space behind my buildings eventually, when I collect thousands upon thousands of dark gray pieces to make mountains. Yeah, I'm working on it, but it's going to take a little time. And also, I was thinking about lowering my shelving. Well, actually continuing with this track and adding a smaller shelf down below this tier and putting the Orient Express there. So it could be just a train that's passing by on the mountainside, whereas the streetcar is the one making all of the stops in the city. Speaking of stops, yeah, I'll need to add some stops and some little train stations along the way. That's for a future update. Up above the second tier of shelving for my city, I've got the 2024 promos that I've collected and dedicated that whole shelf for it. Pretty soon, I'll probably be putting a winter village there, and eventually, I'll probably make that a permanent shelf for my city, because that'll be like where the mountain peaks are. I've got a suggestion of a mountain peak right here. Also, the Greenside sign that's typically seen with snow covered on top. Anyway, that does it for this city update video. I'm very happy with what I accomplished, and also very happy that I'm finally working on city updates again. Hopefully it won't be another 7 months to my next one.